So today I want to start my gameplay here by reflecting on these two losses I had yesterday, where I specifically had a really fed lane where I was crushing the enemy laner really hard, but it resulted in us not actually being able to win the game. This one is because of McGinnis. I think this character is insanely busted right now. And the other one was because we honestly just didn't... Our team kind of just gave up and turbo fed over and over again. You can see here that the person we're laning against is 9 and 13. By the time we ended the laning phase, they were like 0 and 7. Like me and my duo, Lady Crystal's here playing Paradox. We literally killed these laners probably 13 times in like 10 minutes. But we lost this game. And I kind of want to reflect on what exactly happened here and how I can actually end up improving. So I want to talk about the kind of flow of how this game works and how you're able to have impact on the game in the most condensed potential ever. Because sure, you might win your lane and you might do really well, but the problem is that your lane is only contained to a third of the game. You need to make sure that you have map influence across the map, right? So let's talk about a couple things. First off, if you don't understand how spikes work in this game, let me cover the basics of spikes. Right here in the bottom left, you see that there's 3 different stats here that make up 3 different categories of items. You have weapon, which you see the weapon investment increases on the right here. For every chunk of souls you spend on items here, starting at 800, 16, 3.2, 4.8k, 7.2k, stuff like that, you get rewards for your weapon damage increasing, you get extra health, and you get extra spirit power, right? Generally, the character you're playing depends on what spikes you want to hit, depending on your abilities and stuff like that. Some characters don't care about, like, the gun spike, for example, because they're all spirit. Some characters don't care about spirit because they're all gun. However, on a character like Holiday, a lot of my early spikes come from the fact that my barrels will do so much damage and my headshots scale off of spirit, right? So generally what I end up doing is I buy one of these starters for the earliest spike you can get here. You can see that spending 800 souls gives you an extra 7% weapon damage. It's not a lot, but in the early game, the smallest amount of stats help benefit you a lot. It's a very small spike to get overall, especially if you combine it with like wrthcrw shot. That's adding an extra 13% weapon damage overall. Headshot booster is also pretty solid for the same reason. It doesn't give you the extra weapon damage, but this basically reads, if you buy this first item, 30 bonus health, every 9 seconds your headshots deal an extra 45 damage, and you get an extra 7% weapon damage. Now, my build specifically focuses on getting the 4.8k spike in spirit because of my barrels actually caring about spirit damage, right? Almost all my abilities scale with spirit. Actually, no. Literally everything scales with spirit. Not almost everything. Literally everything scales with spirit. So this is the thing I want to hit first. So you see right here, 4.8k. There's a little star there. The reason that there's a star there is because that is the most worthwhile investment you can put into it. That is the peak of when you get your investment for spending items in spirit. So it's very important to hit that spike as much as possible. Now, of course, you don't just stop investing. I have a lot of other items that I want to get in spirit as well, if I can afford to, right? But this is the highest payoff possible for the least amount of money put into it. I say money, I mean souls. So this timer right here, everything in this game is put on a timer. And it's really important to understand how these timers affect the general gameplay, right? For example, these camps spawn at 2 minutes, I believe. The small camps spawn at 2 minutes. Bridge buff spawns at 8 minutes, or 5 minutes, sorry. And center sacks, which give you permanent stat ups and also give you souls, spawn at 8 minutes. These timers are really important to know, and especially focusing on the important things for your lane are also really important. So for example here, right? If I want to itemize to help me crush my lane opponent, right? If I'm playing against, let's say, Lash Mirage, right? If I build Slowing Hex into that lane, I will be able to shut down all of their movement abilities. So for example, if Lash goes in for a slam, he comes in right here, I can Slowing Hex him, and then lasso him into my tower, to actually pull him in and then kill him, right? And he gets completely punished for it. Or I can do it in the reverse order. He goes for a slam, I lasso him, pull him in a tower. If he's still not dead, I slowing hex him. He has to walk out, right? He has no mobility. Or if I didn't buy slowing hex, I wouldn't be able to do that. You'll see here on my guide, lane core, generally left to right unless you need a lane killer. Go for 4.8k spirit spike ASAP. And then the lane killers, it says stagger, mystic burst, extra spirit buys for these. So instead of buying, let me get away from the shop so you guys can actually hear me. So instead of buying mystic burst and extra spirit, these items that kind of just give me stats, I instead go for something that costs the same amount, but gives me less damage and less overall stats, but lets me kill specific characters that are problematic for the game. So if you do something like this, I instead still hit my 4.8k spike while still having the luxury of utility overall. Now this spike, as soon as you hit this spike, this is when your character turns online. Not every character is going to be able to hit spikes at the same time. Like for example, Holiday wants the extra charge because this extra charge gives you an extra jump pad and it gives you an extra barrel. It's really important that you have that. These timers are going to be super important for your character and who you're playing. For example, there are some characters who are really strong early. There are some characters who are not strong early, right? Some characters get completely rolled over and they just want to farm and farm and farm until they hit, eventually, like, they hit triple 4.8k or they hit, you know, like, maybe 7.2k spirit investment, right? So, these timers are really important to understand. Holiday is relatively lucky in the fact that she can just end up buying basically 3 items and have her 4.8k spike. She doesn't need any other gun items to support her base kit because I can literally just do this, right? I can kind of just do that over and over again, right? So, whenever you're crushing your lane opponents, it's really important to understand that what you're itemizing should be able to shut down the rest of the map and influence them. In those games that I had yesterday, I want to point out that I was crushing my lane opponents, but I kind of stayed in lane, kept crushing them over and over again, building a bigger balance, and I did roam a little bit, but it wasn't specifically at my 4.8k timer, right? If you have more souls than the enemy team does, generally, right, you're going to hit your early spike faster than they will because they're looking to optimize their own spikes themselves, right? So, it's typically going to be best that you focus on roaming until one of 2 things happens. You hit your 4.8k spike in your primary stat, or you want to take down the Guardian. Sometimes you want both to happen, but in the lane yesterday, for example, it was 2 characters that were pretty difficult to focus and kill, and then get Guardian. Guardian was too unfeasible for us to get at the time of trying to kill them and get Guardian. Now, I don't know if you guys know how Guardians work, but they have armor that scales down as the game progresses on. Where even if I am, for example, like, let's say, like, level, like this, right? Level, what, 6? I can probably go up to this Guardian and literally just parry it and start doing damage to it, like, default, right? Especially as I have more and more items like this. It's not going to be hard for me to literally just walk up, parry the Guardian, and then literally just do damage to it and kill it, right? Now, of course, this is only at 8 minutes. When we're talking like 10, 15 minutes, Guardians are basically worth nothing. The objectives in this game get easier and easier to take as time goes on. There's less value in Guardians past certain points in the game. So if you get to a point where it's about 10-ish minutes, the Guardian doesn't really mean much. You don't have to worry about taking down the Guardian immediately. When you guys have a good team fight and you want to push the Walker, you can instead just have a minion wave, take the Guardian in like 10, 15 seconds, and then just immediately go push the Walker itself, right? Now, of course, the Walker itself gives you money, and if you can't kill the lane opponents, it might be a good idea to focus on the Walker itself, so you still get the extra money involved with it, because that money can subsidize your kills. If you can get both, of course, that's best, but I want to focus today in maximizing my impact across the map. Now, of course, you need to do this with your waves. If a wave is at your tower, for example, you don't want to just leave. Minions in this game give you the most souls out of everything else you could do. It's more than most kills you'll get. It's more than a box run. It's more than doing camps. It's more than anything. I see so many players, even in the elo that I'm at, Emissary, right? Emissary and Archon, because I usually end up like in this category of lobbies here, being on the higher end of Emissary. And like, I see so many Victor players, right? They'll end up playing Victor, and all I see them do is just sit here and just farm camps over and over and over and over and over, and this is all they do for the entire game. They never catch a wave, they never clear minions out, they never push waves, they never do anything. They just focus on farming jungle. Because the logic is that Victor is strongest late game, which is true, but you get to that late game point faster by farming minions. You farm minions as the primary focus, and then everything else you do comes secondary to that. Everything else comes secondary to securing minions. Minions are the bread and butter for what you should be doing. So, let's go ahead and give a rundown for what I want to do as Holiday in some of these games, right? Let's say that that the enemy team has the minions pushed up here, right? I want to sit under tower. I want to shoot the minions. I want to get the souls, right? I clear out the minions here. I push the wave a little bit forward here, right? And the minions are going to walk up to the enemy tower here. And the enemy minion, or my minions are going to walk up to the enemy tower here, start shooting the tower. At that point, I have a decision to make. Can I get a kill under tower here? Is it worth it to go for? That decision comes with game sense and just general character knowledge, how strong you are, how strong they are, things like that. If you can go for a kill and you can threaten the Guardian, by all means, it might be a good decision too. I'm not going to tell you right here, black and white, it is good to do that. However, if you can't do that, no more minions are going to spawn for, I believe the timer's 20 seconds, something like that. That's when the wave crashes to the tower. This is when you want to sit here and be like, okay, I'm going to do a jungle camp. And then on my way back, I'm going to go run the boxes right here, right? So you go, hey, go here, get some souls, see if there's souls in here. You know, grab this, get these boxes. Okay, yeah, you're good. Alternatively, if you're facing against a lane that is super aggressive, right? Let's say, for example, you're playing against Graves McGinnis, right? You're never going to be able to push up into a Graves McGinnis. Basically ever. They're really strong characters in lane that are just going to deny space over and over again. It's kind of not worth to sit here and poke them and kind of sit under a tower and wait. What you want to do is you want to clear the wave under your tower as fast as possible, because that gives you the souls as fast as possible. Now, as soon as I kill the minions, I go, okay, I have about 20 seconds here to go farm boxes and go, you know, do what I need to do under tower before the next minion wave comes here, and I need to go get it. The same thing is true a lot of times for ganking, right? You guys don't know ganking is going to another lane to go, you know, fight, right? So if I crash the wave here, right, and I go, all right, minions push up, they go under tower here, they start shooting the Guardian. This is where I'm going to go over here, right? And then I am going to double jump. And then come over here, and then come gank mid lane, try and get a kill here. And then if this doesn't work out in about, you know, 5 to 10 seconds of being here, I'm going to come back here and go back to my lane so I can go catch the wave. You have more time to do so if the Guardian's down as well.
Headed to yellow.
This is why being in your lane more in the early game matters the most. But as you remember, I mentioned that Guardians are worth less as the game goes on. This is when you have more time to do so. Just so you understand, you have more time when the Guardians are down because the minions have a longer way to walk and more waves to clear by comparison, right? Of course, if there's a person there pushing the wave manually, making it go faster and faster, you're going to have less time unless you want to sacrifice the walker for something. And I think that this is kind of the biggest thing I'm missing right now in my gameplay is optimizing my own roams, optimizing my own decisions for actually having overall like map pressure. If I'm in a side lane, I don't influence mid enough. I don't influence green enough. I don't actually get an opportunity to fight a lot of the time. Urn is also a really big one. You always want to try and get every urn. It spawns at 10 minutes and respawns every 5 after, I believe. It's either that or every 10. I don't remember exactly. But so when 10 minutes comes around, you want to be looking for a pick or looking for a fight in the lane where you want to turn in the urn. so that way the urn can get delivered. You can view it like this. The minions say that there's going to be a fixed amount of XP that spawns every minute. Or souls. I'm used to playing League, sorry. I wasn't good at League, but I do have most of my knowledge coming from that. Every minion wave spawning is a fixed amount of souls. Every 20 seconds or whatever the waves spawn. If no one catches it, it goes to complete waste. You need to make sure that you're catching the waves every single time that they're there. If you let the minions die without anybody catching the waves, that is just wasted XP overall. And the enemies are going to be ahead of you because of that. And understanding how to push around the waves and when to gank and everything like that is very important. This is what I learned out of all of my frustration in these unwinnable games, where I am personally like 10-0 and I don't actually end up securing the games because this like mid-game time, which I would say about 10 to 25 minutes, maybe 10 to 20 minutes, I'm not influencing the map enough. I'm kind of just staying in my lane, farming Walker, just pushing up the wave, letting it crash into me, taking jungles, stuff like that. I'm not actively engaging in fights and actively taking control of the map. And so, especially depending on the character you're playing, like for me, I play Holiday. Holiday is hyper mobile and can run around and do some stupid stuff, right? I'm sure you've all seen the Holiday that can just fly around the map at 10,000 miles an hour. Other characters are going to want to stick to farming more. You want to adapt this core like rule set to you specifically and the character you're playing. These are just the general rules. Certain characters will break the foundation, but it's important to understand that the foundation is there for a reason, right? I'm gonna want kills around the 7 to 10 minute mark. That's when I'm gonna want to start influencing the map. Other characters are gonna want to play safe in lane and just farm and farm and farm and farm. Like, for example, Wraith.
If you think crime doesn't pay, you are outrageously bad at crime.
Instead of potentially, you know, you catch a wave here and then you push the wave up, right? You push the wave up. Instead of looking for kills mid, what are you probably gonna want to do? You're probably gonna want to start farming for endgame, because Wraith scales really, really, really strong. So what you're gonna do instead is go, okay, clear our camp, you know, do this stuff, you know, clear all that. Or if the enemies are all like if there's like, you know, like 1, 2, 3, 4 people in blue, you can go, well, maybe I can instead do this. I can walk up here to the tower, crash the wave, you know, shoot the tower, and then in here, I'm gonna go in here, and then start taking the enemy's jungle, the enemy's farm, right? And then when the wave starts pushing back to your tower, you're gonna be here, come back over here to clear the minion wave here, and then now you go, okay, they have no jungle on this side, so now I can farm my jungle. This is how you end up maximizing your XP and your souls, and this is how you have the most influence over the map overall. When I see a Wraith on the enemy team, my goal is to cut off all of her farm. I don't want her to farm at all. I don't want her to take my farm. I don't want her to have her farm. My goal is to go in their jungle and screw them over of all of their farm, because the Wraith will outscale me very hard. Holiday kind of falls off in the late game because people have resistances and stats and everything like that. And this is generally the thing I want to emphasize. If you are in like this bracket, at like I would say between Initiate and Oracle, this is probably what I would focus on. These are the thoughts that I've had from all of these unwinnable games that I've lost. You want to put as much of the game in your control and your influence as possible, right? The less we have control of, the more we leave up to chance, right? The less we're able to actually go, oh, there's just a fed guy on the enemy team, it's over, right? You can stop the guy from getting fed or shut them down early so they lose a lot of their lead, and you can have that lead instead, right? You'll notice on my item page here, I have pick 1 CC, knockdown, disarming, X, silence wave. These are really solid because I love to use these for countering really strong characters on the enemy team. For example, there's been plenty of games lately where there will be a really fed Calico because she's really strong right now, right? She got some minor nerfs, but she's still pretty strong overall, right?
I think you'll find I'm perfectly agreeable as long as you do
what I like to do is I like to lasso the Calico, pull her into my team, and then I silence wave, and then I silence lenser or focus lenser. She can't do anything for 10 to 15 seconds, right? And we need to kill her. She's the only problem on the team that I'm actually like scared of. Meanwhile, I can win a 1v1 against everybody else on their team. So my kit is going to be made to counter her and her peak, while I can maintain my lead in my peak. So make sure that you're playing around not only the fact that you want to hit your spike, you want to hit your spike while being as efficient to counter as many people as possible. Like how I mentioned earlier, that you can buy Slowing Hex instead of Mystic Burst Extra Spirit, so my spike instead can look like this. This is my 4.8k spike. Slowing Hex, Rapid Recharge. So now I can just go, hey mid lane, you're having trouble with that Mirage? Slowing Hex him, lasso him, barrel, he's dead, right? Like, me and my teammates are going to be able to kill that guy, hopefully. That is kind of all I have to say here. YouTube, if you guys appreciate these small little tips, I'll be releasing a holiday guide on my main channel eventually when I feel I actually have the credentials for such a thing. But, yeah. If you guys are watching this on YouTube, be sure to subscribe. If you guys are watching this on Twitch, be sure to follow. Thank you, thank you. Now I actually want to play the game.